Good morning and thanks for joining us on the Monday edition of TVC Breakfast. I am Veronica Danik-Boy and I'm not here alone. I have my co-anchors, Super Sam Omashe, as well as the President, Mike Okwache. Gentlemen, good morning.
You what? Don't make GSS come for me. Good morning. Good to see you.
Same here.
Sam, it's good to see you, really.
Yes, we
Well
missed you
done.
last week.
Yeah, but I was around part of last
Yeah,
week.
part of it. Part of
The
it.
remaining
Part
parts
of
that
it.
you are not around, we missed your presence.
Yeah.
Actually. But there's been a lot of things happening that happened over the weekend, and would like to look into some of them. We recall that Saturday was the 1st of October that marked the 62nd anniversary of Nigeria's independence, and there was a million march across the country for one of the presidential aspirants in person of Peter Obi, the Labour Party candidate. Yes, yeah. And so in that, march, there was a video that went viral talking about that the Deputy Governor of Lagos State's son was part of the Million Man March, the person of Obafemi Hamzat's son. And he has come out to refute that, saying that that was not his son. And then there was also the aspect of another fake news where rumors made the rounds that Asiwaju Bola Tinubu also had passed. And, he came out with a video saying, I am alive, fit for this work. He fired back like a paper reported this morning. And I'm wondering what we are making of these, developments with regards to the campaigns and the coming elections, where we have begun to see fake news, misinformation, and all of it making the rounds, Sam.
It is a pretext to what we are going to see in the coming months. And unlike any other campaign that we have ever had in this country, this is going to be a campaign of falsehoods and a campaign in which all kinds of misrepresentations are going to be accepted as facts. And that is what we are seeing with the case in what we experienced over the last weekend, where Hamzat's son is not Hamzat's son, or somebody gave birth to Hamzat's son, reared the child, made him a big man, and then announced it to the world that this is Hamzat's son.
Without his knowledge.
Without his knowledge. Because they actually made him produce a son without his capacity to know. And he says that is the kind of falsity that you have. In fact, I was so curious, I had to call him. I said, this is what is going on. And he was really, really, really upset that this kind of thing could be happening in Nigeria. I was wondering what kind of mobilization, what kind of society that we are trying to build where we cannot rely on facts. Then there was another one on Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, in which they put a picture around that he was on catheter, and that he could not rise from his hospital bed, and a certain white woman was trying to lift, and it was very clear that that was not him, because they wanted to use a man with a bald head. They could have used me too, Use a bald head, or you.
Myself,
eh?
Because I have a runway here.
Yeah, you have a runway
I have
there.
a runway.
They could have used you, and then they said that was it. So what it means is that our eyes are not longer our eyes. We can't read. As I wrote this morning in my column, maybe we need to think about our diets and put a lot of vitamins there so that some of us can see clearly. So we don't see bald heads everywhere, because we see one bald head, we think every bald head is one particular bald head. It reminds me of one short story by Nabokov in which somebody fell in love with somebody and was trying to see the face of that person everywhere he was going to. Anywhere he went to, must be that person. There's also one on by Gia Ayasi Urut. So these things are going on. So we have to be careful. Then they said the past. I even saw one they attributed to Reuters, saying that for medical reasons he had moved out of the race, and they said he's dead. They said that this Mark Twain said stories of my death were grossly exaggerated.
Yeah.
And you know, that kind of thing. So these are the things. I know Shakespeare once said that, he said, are we trying to how did he put it? Are not some whole that we want to make sick? Yeah? In Julius Caesar, I said, are not some whole that we want to make sick? Yeah, so who is sick now?
Right.
Is it the person who is seeing wrongly or the person who is well?
Right. Indeed, that's a cogent question to ask. You see, what Obafemi Hamzat said, whoever came up with this should be arrested and prosecuted. Perhaps that might be the way to go now with regards to addressing this matter.
Well, the point is, you will see, like Sam has said, you see lots of desperation to make certain points. But the point there is, at campaigns like this, is a peak where we see fake news. And examples of fake news and misinformation, disinformation. These are all examples of media illiteracy. A lot of people don't know these things. But we are going to see more of it going forward. But people have to be conscious. And the reality is that when the traditional media, who is supposed to be the touchlight, when they begin to fall into that deep, then there's going to be trouble. So we have to all sit up to know that whatever you forward, whatever you send, whatever you publish, or whatever you broadcast may not necessarily be the truth until you verify it, until you find it out somehow.
All right, we need to quickly move forward.
What it means is that the Asiwaju campaign must be alert to some of these. They have been doing it.
I think all the campaigns should even be alert because it's all about Nigerians.
We need in Abuja, where security forces have arrested a suspect believed to be working with kidnappers in villages in Kuje, an area council on the outskirts of the Abuja metropolis. Troops of a special operation code named G7 were advancing when the suspect sped off on a motorcycle into the bushes to inform gunmen of the troops' location. Sifonesian has details.
It's the launch of the third phase of an operation against terrorists in Abuja and neighboring states. The simultaneous operation codenamed G7 or Group of Seven brings together operatives from the Army, Navy, Department of State Services, Civil Defense, Immigration, vigilantes and hunters. This is a camp where the operation for Abuja is planned. On this day, the troops join up for an operation. The mission is to raid camps used by kidnappers in remote communities in the area.
6 other state governors contagious to the FCT decided to form this G7 in order to stem the tide of all this kidnapping and banditry. So they decided to form this G7. We have done the first part of the operation. We have done the second. This is almost the third that we are embarking.
The troops advance through difficult terrains, going past several villages. Further into the mission area, the man is arrested. He is suspected to be an informant to one of the kidnapping gangs in the area. We gathered that kidnapping gangs are already aware of the troops' advancement. At this facility, kidnapped victims are receiving first aid. We were told they regained freedom moments before we arrived at the location. Their captors could no longer hold them because the troops were closing in on them.
This is a victim, Aliru Sani. We just rescued from the camp of the kidnappers. You can see the one we picked is their informant. So, by the grace of God, this is a victim. They're already aware that we are here and they are running. We have entered their camp, we have scattered them, and we are entering further. We are pursuing them. The informant that is with us here has told us where they are. By the grace of God, we are moving further.
A recurring challenge encountered by troops in operations like this is that of informants working for criminal groups who often give out information about troops' movement. It's unclear how security forces intend to overcome the challenge. Sifonesian, TVC News, Abuja.
We move now to Zamfara State, where the police have again arrested another suspected bandit leader terrorizing communities in 3 local councils of Zurmi, Benin Magaji, and Kaura Namoda. The 54-year-old suspect is also accused of cattle rustling, receiving and selling of rustled animals in different parts of the state. A press statement signed by the spokesperson of the Zamfara State Police Command, Mohammed Shehu, says The arrest followed an intelligence report received by the police tactical operatives keeping watch in the area. In a related development, the police also arrested 2 suspected bandit collaborators in a filling station located along Garejin Mailena, 1K Road in Gusau, the state capital. The Zamfara State Police Command is again assuring residents of its readiness to combat crime. And to education matters, it's almost 8 months since students in public universities were forced to sit at home. While many of the students are lamenting over loss of an academic session, others are seeking greener pastures outside Nigeria. Senior correspondent Sharon Ejason reports.
It's more than 7 months since students in public universities were left with no option but to sit at home and stop receiving lectures. Many of the students under the platform of the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, have held several protests to ensure that universities are reopened.
Why will the student be at home for over 7 to 8 months and they won't even give a reply? The last reply we heard from the federal government was blocking federal roads is illegal.
First time in the history of Nigeria, law students in federal schools might not be able to go to law school because they just took a new set, which means even though the strike is called off today, they've already mixed 1 year. Is that terrible? The card expired 2020. We had the corona year already. That's the thing that is pissing us off. We've already spent 1 year for the corona year. This is the 7th month.
I met some students in Lagos who are now engaged in skills and businesses, while their striking lecturers and governments are still involved in negotiations.
Apart from academics, I'm a sprinter, I'm an athlete on the side, so I've just been training for forthcoming competitions.
I can't remember the course title, I can't remember the course code. Okay, I still remember my magic number because it's looking like the strike is going to last till forever. So I'm actually indifferent as to whether I'll be leaving the job I'm doing at the moment for school or I will have to quit it and get back to school.
Akinde Gabriel Bola owns a footwear business in Lagos. Akinde is also a 400-level student in mathematics at the University of Lagos. He tells TVC News that he is happy with his skills. He explained that he also loves his finished product and that is all that matters for him for now.
I won't say I miss school because I'm getting money. I have to go back to school, but you don't have option because I'm in 400 level. So just a year to go, final lap. So I will still go back, just finish up. The money is there, yes, and also I love the production. I just love the skills. I love the craft. That's the main thing.
At a foreign education fair in Lagos recently, it was noticed that the number of students seeking further education abroad is high. The figure runs into millions for those seeking undergraduate and postgraduate studies abroad. Those who came here are more than 5 times the number of students who want to get education outside the country.
As it is now, we have more than 3 sets of secondary school students who had graduated from their various secondary school institutions who are yet to gain admission. For some of them who have gained admission, they've only spent less than 2 months on campus, which means many of them have been out of school since they graduated for about 2 to 3 years.
Members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, are still negotiating with government to meet their demands. These include implementation of the renegotiated 2009 agreement and the adoption of the University Transparency and Accountability Solutions (ITAS). Others are the need for increased funding of state universities, as well as payment of withheld salaries, check-off dues, and promotion arrears for ASU members. Samuel Akinde and other students hope that they will resume classes soon, as their counterparts in other clients have graduated 2 years ago. Sharon Ejason, TVC News.
Progressives Ambassadors Support Group for APC's presidential candidate Bola Tinubu has organized a drive-in rally to promote the party's candidate. This features a car race from the city center to the APC campaign office. They say Nigeria is divided along ethnic and religious lines and needed a detribalized Nigerian and somebody with the capacity to accept all.
We are the progressive ambassadors, and we are here to show solidarity and support for Asiwaju Bola Tinubu and Kashim Shettima. We are here in numbers. We are here to show how awesome and how sure we are that he's going to win the presidential election.
You check the track record, the structures that Bola Ahmed Tinubu has already laid on ground right from when he was governor of Lagos State. You know that he has a lot of people that he has empowered to be leaders today in Nigeria.
Thank you for staying with us. It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on Nigerian newspapers. And I begin with the Nigerian News Direct. It says 62nd Independence Anniversary, Buhari to honor Oni Elumelu Ovia and Wigwe, 433 others. We have detail. Oliserve, Nestor CEO's back at national honors. You find the details of the story on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. All right, we move quickly now to the First News newspaper. A 2023 campaign funds sources, INEC reads Riot Act to political parties, says they must make full disclosure of funding, transfer money received from foreign sources to commission's coffers. All right, you find all of the details on the front page of the First News newspaper. To this day now, Tinubu roars back, says he's fit and ready to serve. PCC holds inaugural meeting this week. PCC holds inaugural meeting. That's the Presidential Campaign Council holds inaugural meeting this week. You find all of the details on the front page of this day newspaper. And to the front page of the Leadership newspaper now. After Abuja Pali with Atiku, Wike, Makinde, or Tom Ikpeazu Ugwuanyi meet, weigh options, fail to reach agreement to hold more consultations after Enugu closed-door meeting. You find the detail on the front page of the Leadership newspaper. And we move to the Nation newspaper now. PDP Board of Trustees may ask Ayu to resign over crisis. Party leaders to meet Wike in Port Harcourt tomorrow, or Tom Ikpeazu Ugwuanyi Makinde brainstorm in Enugu. Emergency NEC meeting underway in Abuja. You find the details on the front page of the Nation newspaper. To the Punch now, still talking about the PDP crisis. It says aggrieved governors meet in Enugu, plot Ayu's removal. Wike, Makinde, or Tom others review Atiku's condition. Ayu cannot resign until next year. Senator insists PDP not Ayu paid National Working Committee members housing allowance aid. All right, you find the details on the front page of the Punch newspaper. To the front page of this Nigerian newspaper now, 2023 presidential campaign. Obi, Tinubu, Atiku take battle to U.S. Supporters converge in New York on Independence Day to canvass votes for their candidates. Mike.
All right, I have the Daily Times here. That's where I begin from on this side. Federal government warns ASU against disobeying court order, accuses union's leadership of misinforming and misleading members on status of its appeal. That's what the Daily Times has in here. All right, from there, let's go to the Nature News. Nature News says anger, pain as flood sacks communities in Kogi State. Over 600 hectares of farmland submerged. Residents say government yet to set up centers for displaced persons. And motorists stranded, lament travails. These are all stories on the front page of the Nature News there from all the flooding and all of the issues around there. Let's go to Daily Trust. Abductions dipped by 28% in August as troops scale up operations. Borno Kaduna lead as 859 Nigerians killed, 262 local government areas in 36 states affected. Killings rise by 49% from July. All right, this is what you have the Daily Trust there, Daily Trust newspaper. And on the front page, they have a breakdown of the infographics there for you to see what the breakdown is. All right, from there, let's go to national economy. Turbulence in the skies. Nigeria's aviation sector battles lingering huge indebtedness to foreign airlines, high cost of aviation fuel, forex scarcity, among others. That is what you see on the front page of the national economy. From there, let's go to a Business Day. Business Day says Gulf states living Nigeria's dream of an oil windfall. Gulf states living Nigeria's dream of an oil windfall. That's what Business Day there has. And then the last one I have right here is Business AM. And it said, fate of Naira. Foreign exchange crunch leaves Nigerians with impossible transaction burdens, weaken citizens' purchasing ability. Right? That's what Business AM has in here. Right, Veronica?
All right. Let's perhaps quickly begin with this matter, talking about campaign funding, and INEC is talking tough. INEC has read out the Rights Act to political parties and is saying that parties must make full disclosure of their funding. They should transfer monies received from perhaps foreign sources to commissions coffers. And also on the matter of crowdfunding, they're saying that it is not backed by law, so to speak. And so you cannot talk about unknown persons, giving you funds to perhaps campaign and all of that. You talk about anonymous donations and all of it, that you must disclose whatever you're doing. Because we spoke with the INEC's person over the last week, and he was talking about this matter, saying that some people, go through the wrong channels. And so it makes it difficult for INEC to be able to, hold them to account if their books are not properly accounted for, or the monies are not properly accounted for and their books, brought out for them to really see.
Well, they say money is the mother's milk of politics. So without money, there's no politics. It is the breath of life of politicians. And so it is important that, that there is level playing field in this business, so somebody does not actually buy the elections or buy democracy, because we have seen it in the historical, in fact, in the founding days of the American society, the richest man among the founding fathers thought that he would become the president and not George Washington, but eventually people say, well, Washington is the one, he doesn't have money, he's a soldier, he has charisma and all of that. So he's the one that will win because he has what it takes to do it. So there's always been problem about who will be the best person to rule. We found that even the Roman Empire, the richest man became an emperor, but to do it in today's economy or in today's situation where you don't have all the data, you don't know how to follow the money, it's going to be very tricky, especially because we have a very vibrant, informal economy where a lot of money goes under the carpet. And a lot of the even foreign exchange crunch we're experiencing is because many of the politicians have mopped them up. So I wish INEC a lot of luck, but this is a very hard thing to do because you're only going to be monitoring money. I mean, if money moves from Baba Ogja to Baba do Yasule, and then Yasule cashes it out. How do you know that Yasule was trying to give it to the local government in Zamfara state who wants to run for election? How do you know?
Yeah, it's a very difficult one for INEC as it stands, because Festus Okoye was really saying that proper channels has to be followed. Yeah. They have measures in place to check all of that, but people are still cutting corners.
Yeah, the point there is we are not that sophisticated yet. As a nation, our systems are not as sophisticated. Sam was talking about data earlier. Yes. There's so many leaks. There are so many leaks within the system where people who are going to be, in fact, so many candidates and politicians who are going to be involved in the 2023 elections, their monies have been ready since last year for some of them, not in the system, not in the banking system. So the point there is a lot of cash goes out, whether in dollars or in euros or in pounds or in naira, goes out at period of times like this. How do you trace monies like that? So the issue there is at this time around, INEC has to be able to collaborate with media stations. If you say, okay, TVC, come, let us see your records of all of the jingles that you played out.
Right.
What was the cost of all of the jingles, whether it's APC, PDP, LP, ADC, whatever the thing is. INEC has to have that capacity to be able to rally all media stations on one hand. That's for jingles. Now, there are political contractors, those who are printing T-shirts, those who are printing billboards, those who are mounting all of those things, caps, and so on, and posters. INEC there has to be that record to say, okay, who did this and at what cost? So that at the end of the day, INEC need to have the capacity to put all of that, calculate all of that together to say, okay, this was the benchmark as far as the law was concerned, but you have exceeded it by this amount of money. So where did the differentials come from? INEC, for now, INEC may not have that capacity yet, but it's a good thing that the conversation is going around there for people to know that, okay, INEC actually has the responsibility of overseeing how much money political parties spend, and so on. But right now, we may not have the data to know, because if Sam is contesting as president and I am his friend, I could decide that me on my own, without his knowledge, can decide to
do something,
create jingles for him. He may not know. You may check Uncle Sam's accounts, his fat accounts, and you may not see any money, see anything there. So these are the things, So INEC needs to develop the capacity, and working towards this thing doesn't have to be just a few months to the election. It has to be a fundamental preparation for it. Maybe it could even be a 5-year or 10-year development plan for INEC, where you should put mechanism on ground to see how you can begin to monitor, because you need collaboration with media stations, contractors, and all of that to see how you can get to the details of where all of these contracts came from.
It needs all stakeholders on there.
You can monitor the posters, you can monitor the jingles, but those are just a little part of it.
Exactly.
Yes. The real campaign is in operation. Who goes to that neighborhood? Who sees all the people there? Who organizes the drummers? Who organizes the rice and the garri that is
all the structures?
Who organizes all those?
Who funded them?
You cannot trace where the money is coming from.
Right.
That is the real campaign.
Oh, that's the real thing.
Now, let's quickly touch on another matter that is of interest to a lot of persons. If you look at the papers this morning, it talked about PDP crisis and the deepening, so to speak, where the aggrieved governors met with Governor Nyesom Wike in Enugu. The persons of Makinde or Tom, others, were reviewing, said to have reviewed Atiku's condition. But then again, there's also the aspect of where Wike has said that he has been vindicated with the letters that we saw flying over last week, where some members of the National Working Committee talked about returning monies that was paid into their coffers, and saying that it was meant for perhaps their house rent and all of it. And we also have the aspect of the board of directors, or the board of trustees, rather, of the PDP mumbling matters with regards to if they would take IU out of the way moving forward.
The crisis in PDP continues to get what they say, curiouser and curious. And, as they say, the 5 governors, one year has been quiet as one of them, but I think he hosted them to say, I'm here. I was a part of the conspirators. It's just like all those people who were trying to kill Caesar. So Caesar, they go, Sinner the poet, you are one of them. No, I'm a poet. He said, no, you're a conspirator. No. They said, no, I'm just a poet. Okay, kill him for bad verses. Kill him because of his bad verses. Okay, so he's here. He said, I'm part of it. So let us see. I'm hosting. I'm providing the gari and the eba and all the meat and fish and all of that, and the drinks for these people. So you see me to it. Then the question is, are they going to remove IU, or are they not going to remove it? These people are saying we're insistent. They are all in strong PDP states, apart from Makinde, who is in Oyo. But it's significant because it's a major Southwest stakeholder in the party. So how are they going to handle it? Then the Minister of Faith, They are the letters. The naira that is surging back into the account after 10 billion suddenly came down. It says it's for housing. So as I said in my column today, I said, okay, it is for housing, we agree. So you're moving, they're giving you 28 million, 30 billion, and all of that to move out of your Ikoyi residence so that you can now apply for one of Sanwo-Olu's houses in Lagos or Babatunde Raji Fashola's houses, so you can come and live with the people. Or is it that the money is being turned to dollars so that your children can go to Champs-Élysées in Paris or in Manhattan or the streets or the high street of London to start shopping for Louis Vuitton? Or doing that? Is it what is the money for? So that's what the people are doing when a lot of the people that PDP want to do things for don't have shelter. So we now know that the people who run PDP have no homes. They are homeless. Yeah. They are homeless people. Does not remind us of Onsa. Have we forgotten Onsa? The same PDP. When they were in government, when Onsa, how do they call it, the special advisor on security, Sambo, was it Sambo, yes, who started giving money out for election, including some people, some media organizations, started giving money and so on. So they started distributing. So we are seeing the mini officer going on in the PDP with 10 billion. So you can see it's a foretaste. So people say, of what is to come. They win.
Let's see how the matters will be resolved in the coming days, because they're still trying to meet to address the matters. There's a meeting, emergency meeting set to be held in Abuja, and another one should be held in Port Harcourt. But we'll see how all of this is resolved in the coming days. No longer restricted to gender-defined roles, women are writing their names in gold in the corporate and business world. As former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton once said, "When women hold leadership positions, everyone benefits," end quote. This is because women have an innate ability to multitask and give full attention to their duties to produce desired results. But one critical area where female presence is still lacking in Nigeria is that of politics and governance. The final list of presidential and National Assembly candidates for the 2023 general election released by the Independent National Electoral Commission disclosed a poor representation of the women folk. Of the 18 presidential candidates contesting next year's election, only one is a woman. President Muhammadu Buhari also re-echoed this in his Independence Day speech, where he called for more women participation in politics. With the general election just 5 months away, what should be done to make women's voices heard and register their strengths in numbers? That's the question. But joining us now is the Deputy National Coordinator South for Tinubu Support Organization, Ayodele Fatusin. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you. Good morning.
Right. First of all, let's even understand, if women understand the power they wield when it comes to issues bordering on politics and nation building.
Women are becoming very aware of their power now. It didn't used to be that way. We were suppressed, I would say, because we were not encouraged. We were made to believe we didn't have what it took then to be leaders. But we're coming out with a vengeance. Thanks to people like our leader, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, who strongly believes in women power, in women's empowerment and youth. And from all indications, is promising that 33% of his cabinet, we pray, makes it in, will be women and youth. So we're looking forward to that. That'll be a first in the history of Nigeria.
Absolutely.
If you look at the history of the world now, I mean, the world generally, women are becoming more empowered. We have women presidents. We have vice presidents.
We just had one now in Italy. Though a controversial woman, but...
yes. But very powerful, very strong-willed.
Yes.
And women are tenacious. We get it. You know, whatever you tell us to do, or whichever way we need to go, we do whatever we need to do to get there. So We are really looking forward to the new dispensation coming in because we know that we are going to get empowered.
What does it take to really mobilize women? Because women are of different types. You have the educated ones who are the stay-at-home order. You have those who are artisans, those who are market women, and all of that. And it tends to be some work. How do you go about that dynamic?
For this particular campaign, what we're doing is reaching out to women from bottom up. What I mean is that we are liaising with women in the market. We're going from door to door. We're advising them on how powerful they can be, not just as a woman, as, you know, as an individual, but as a mother, as a sister, as a friend, as an auntie. The influence they will have on their children, the influence they will have on their husbands. The government has done a lot in empowering women in the past. You can look at the Empower, the government did a lot of program for women empowerment. And you can see that in the market. Then you move to the level of the middle class, whereby you have the professionals or the young graduates or the young mothers, okay? Up to the level of executives now. If you look at even the banking sector, you're going to see we have a lot of women MDs that didn't used to be. So we're getting up there. Look at Mrs. Okonjo-Iweala. Look at Orelope. God bless her soul. Look at Mrs. The lady that just died, Mrs. Kemi Nelson. Very powerful icon. When you see women like that, you are encouraged. You have the passion. You want to do more. You want to grow to be like them. So we have the awareness. We're encouraging women to come out, vote, come out and see where they are strongly independent of their men and do the needful to pronounce themselves as not a weaker gender, but as a woman, as an individual that is capable of doing anything she can do. Basically, we are just promoting women to come out. Mrs. Tinubu and Mrs. Shettima are doing a wonderful job of going from state to state right now, encouraging women to come out. And if you look at their PCC, they are mostly, I believe it's about 99% women. And they are coming, you will see the difference. You will see the power of women when the campaign starts proper with these two ladies.
Perhaps you should paint a picture of what we would see, because there are those who have said that women will not be able to drive as much as possible. Yes, you know, what perhaps they're expecting to see to drive the campaigns. We know men oftentimes are the ones that, you know, are put forward with regards to this, but you're telling us now that we're going to see a different dimension to the campaigns where women are taking the lead, so to speak, and, you know, right on the backs of women who are perhaps in the markets and all of that. Let's paint us a picture of what we should expect and the programs in place on how to reach out to these women, encouraging them to come out and be part of the process.
It's not the rallies or mega rallies as usual. This particular campaign is unique, it's different. This particular campaign is telling people to go out or to start their success or to start their campaign from the individual homes. We are doing grassroots, we are doing word to word, unit to unit, up to the level of the local government. We are doing door-to-door campaign. We are encouraging our neighbors, so to say, to come out. Mama Neka, Mama Dele, Mama whatever. Come out. Don't be intimidated. Once you finish breakfast in the morning, talk to your neighbor. What do you see that is wrong? And these particular leaders we have in the women's sector, you have access to them. The network is done in such a way that you can get information to Mrs. Remi Tinubu that there's area where we have women issues, or maybe they are handicapped, or they are not allowed to do what they are supposed to do. She will do something about it. The campaign is that strong, and we're looking forward to a better future in this particular government for women.
Some people say that this campaign is particularly fraught because they believe that this campaign is very ethnically driven. How do you navigate the obstacles around tribe and faith in this campaign?
Thank you. Ethnically driven. If you look at the history of Nigeria, sir, nothing against any ethnic place within the country. The Northerners are super in regards to campaign and voting. A man could have 10 wives and have 50 children. All the children that are above voting ages or at voting ages, they will be driven by their parents to go out en masse and vote. Southwest, we are more of pessimists. We want to be sure who we are voting for, why we are voting, what is coming out. I'm not saying the North doesn't ask the questions, but once they believe in a cause, once they believe what you're doing is for the betterment of the country, they will vote for you, or they will come to you, they will ask questions. That's what I've noticed about that region. In the South, we are more of pessimists. We want to know. We are full of questions, which is good. And it's more difficult to sell a candidate to the Southwest.
Southwest or Southwest?
Southwest.
Okay.
Southeast is more amiable. But the problem we have now is the IPOB sit at home, threats to lives and all that. So it's difficult to campaign now in the Southeast because you don't know what to expect. But generally, South. Lovely. They are good. They believe in the cause. If you are doing the right thing, they will ask questions, they will come around. They are more or less like the Northerners too. It's only the Southwest that are pessimistic, and Southeast that we have unrest of somewhat that the government needs to work on. And we need to encourage people to come out to vote in those zones, because they are not coming out is going to affect them adversely in the long run.
Very, very important one there. And there's also the aspect, he mentioned the aspect of religion. Perhaps you have touched on that, how it will play in this campaign that you're talking about. And there's also the aspect of tradition, where a man is seen to be the head of the home, and he has a say. And he might decide that his wife is not coming out. I wonder how that is going to play in all of this.
We're seeing that a lot nowadays. Look at Zakoji, the actor. The wife came out and said, listen, you are for Tinubu and for Obi. Very clearly. We have a lot of that. Everybody is entitled to their opinion. Everybody is entitled to their beliefs. I have a friend that I'm campaigning with. His wife didn't believe in Tinubu initially. But today, she's looking at the husband saying, okay, you believe in Tinubu, let me see what Tinubu can do for the country.
Perhaps some will say these ones are the educated ones that are coming out. But when you look at the market women whom you say you're targeting at this point, some of them do not have a say. A majority of them do not have a say in their homes.
Don't underestimate woman power. You're a woman. You know what I'm talking about. She will coerce her husband. She will talk to the children. She will motivate the children. She will prove to the children beyond reasonable doubt that this candidate is the person to go for. I do it in my house. I do it with the people I know. If I can do it, I believe the market woman can do it. We have a lot of strong-willed market women. Please don't underestimate them.
I am not.
They might not be super educated, but they are extremely intelligent. They're extremely manipulative. They're very good at being mothers and sisters and aunties, like I said when I started. Don't underestimate the power of a woman. I believe our women has a lot and a big role to play in this campaign. And I know for a fact that they will be equally, they will not be marginalized, they'll be compensated for their effort because women are now going to be very vocal, not just vocal, but they're going to be out there. They're going to be given positions. Even as market women, you're going to have the women leaders that will be leading the people. Like I said, it's not about education. There are so many ways we can empower them. And we will do it, and we are doing it already.
How do you reach the housewives? Because the housewives are a sizable number of the electorate. How do you really reach them? Because they're usually at home taking care of the children, and they don't really see them in organizations as such. So how do you really reach them and make them part of the whole momentum?
Housewives go to churches, they go to mosque.
So they're bringing the religion part of it now.
Aneka said we cannot campaign in religious centers, though.
No. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Aneka said that. But they can, outside of the church, outside of the religious
premises?
circle, not necessarily the premises.
Okay.
They can advise themselves on where to meet. It could be at the market square. It could be at the village square. It could be anywhere. Those that are interested, we meet and then we converse.
Is that what is going on now?
It's part of what is going on, campaigning from door to door. Calling each other, going to each other's neighbors and explaining, hey, Mrs. Fatusi came to my door yesterday. She mentioned about this candidate. What do you think? Have you seen the news? Are you reading anything about it? Did your son come home and say anything going on outside? And the news spreads, you know. They talk. At the market, they talk. Their children takes information to them. So it's not about a religion, but they do talk. They are very powerful. They are very strong. And they are strong-willed.
And then when you do your women sensitization,
yes, sir,
it cannot be just women, because in the course of it, you also encounter men. How do you handle this? Because you can get to a home, do door to door. You want to go and see the woman, you can see the
husband.
And you can see a son, you can see a brother, or you can see an uncle in the house. And so how do you navigate it? You become a campaigner for
the whole family.
Exactly.
That is why I said we have canvassers. They have to go in there, and if they see the situation, they will now campaign based on what they find on ground.
But what I see is that you guys are campaigning for women. You must have certain agenda when you are trying to campaign, because yours is to mobilize women, and you're supposed to have in your kitty ideas that the campaign has for women. But when you encounter a house, first of all, what are the things you tell the women that the campaign is and will benefit them, especially as women? And how do you now navigate that when you see them with men?
So one of the major problems in Nigeria right now is food. We have security issues. We have food issues. We have infrastructure, so many issues, education, medical. There are so many angles to go about it. If you go to Makoko, for example, in Ebotemeta, most of the women there are market women selling fish, selling seafood. You want to talk to these women about health, how to take care of themselves. We have children that are having children at 13, actually married at 13. You have to look at
At
this.
Makoko.
At
Yes.
Makoko market, yes, sir. The way we are going about it, we look at the
We have
environment.
children mothers.
Yes, sir. Lots. Not educated. Mothers at 13. By the time they are 20, they've had 5 kids. Now, when you go to environments like that, there's so many ways you can campaign. You want to educate them. You want to tell them they shouldn't have children, or mothers shouldn't encourage their children, or mothers shouldn't marry their children off. You want to talk to them about their health, the impact these things is having, whatever they're doing is having on their lives. The impact having so many children is doing to their body as a woman. So we're looking at education, we're looking at food, we're looking at health. If you bring those 3 things to Makoko alone, they will listen to you, sir.
Right.
So it depends on the area. It depends on where you are. That is how we converse. And then we encourage them any way we can. We have a lot of civil societies. We have a lot of professional bodies that are working with us that wants to help some people that are really needy, like the Makoko group that I brought up. We will now introduce them to these people, and they will now interact and make a better life for them, provided they come.
I'm glad you mentioned the Makoko matter, because I've been there on several occasions and I've seen what you rightly mentioned. But then again, there's the aspect of trust. They have said that people have come to campaign, make promises, and at the end of the day, they get what they want and they are left high and dry. So how are you dealing with this matter of trust, such that people will take this matter, especially the group you mentioned, these Makoko people? They said they have seen all sorts of persons come, but nothing is done. And that is why the situation is still as it is.
The situation is not as bad as it used to be. Bola Tinubu changed Makoko for life. And I pray it's getting better. I've been there recently, and they're telling me that despite the fact that so many groups have been there, so many people have promised them a lot, they might not do a lot for them, but the government is pulling their weight. They are trying. They're changing the face of that area. Makoko is not the way it used to be 10 years ago. We're just using Makoko as a yardstick.
I understand.
And that cuts across.
Yes.
We have a man that when he promises to do anything, I don't care if it kills him, he will go back and do it. We have a man that is passionate about this country. We have a man that loves women as a gender. He wants women to be empowered because he believes with a woman in place, there's passion, there's a face, there's no, you are not walking over anybody or any issue. It's an issue-based person. He's very detailed, and he's got the compassion for the country. He will do anything to make this country and the economy vital, vital. And is known worldwide to keep to his own word, to do what he promised to do. We are following him. We're not following him blindly, but we know his capability. So all these promises we're making, I can assure you, within 6 months of his coming on board, we are going to see changes.
We still have our guest in the studio, the Deputy National Coordinator South for Tinubu Support Organization, Ayodele Fatunsi, is speaking to us about the campaigns, especially with a focus to women, and how this will, at the end of the day, galvanize women for the party and also ensure that looking at nation building with regards to women, the role women play, basically. And before we went on the break, we were talking about the matter of trust, how the party intends to win the trust of persons. You know, we're looking at Makoko, for instance, who have complained about people coming there, and you know, they say that they are left high and dry when, despite the promises they have made. And you have talked about the party's flag bearer being someone who they can trust at the end of the day to deliver on his promises. But beyond the fact that they can trust him, there are much more that the person of your candidate, you'd like to talk to us about on the person of your candidate. And perhaps that would also give some other persons, women, who might want to convince their husbands as to see the reasons why you should perhaps vote this person and do whatever is necessary as it stands. Talk to us from that point of view, what more people should know, but besides the fact that he can be trusted, what more should people know who are watching now?
Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, to me, is an enigma. First of all, the man is somebody that doesn't forget, like I said earlier on, any promise is made. He's got the capacity, he's capable of managing the country. He's done it. I don't want to keep, everybody keeps talking about Lagos State, but that's a major one. He did it in Lagos State. And Lagos State is the biggest, it's one of the biggest cities in the world today. It's number 5, the busiest state in the world. If one man can actually achieve that, why won't we give him a chance to manage Nigeria as a whole? Because Nigeria has a lot of issues. And the man has the capability to fix a lot of the problems on hand. We're looking at, you're talking about trust issues. If you look at what is done in Lagos State, that should transcend to federal. We're looking at somebody that is so passionate about his country. He has gone through so much in regards to being ousted, in regards to being in hostile environment, in regards to forsaking his own dreams for years and years. He's just now coming out to say, listen, everything that has been going on in the country is just not good enough because of because people have been suppressed. Let me come out and see what I can do to alleviate some of these pains, to alleviate some of these problems. There is no excuse for the Naira to be 735 or 750. With Bola Tinubu, it will change within a couple of months. I can tell you that much.
Really?
Yes, really. You can hold me to it when the time comes.
Okay.
He will do it.
So how do you really navigate those people who say, well, Asiwaju is also APC, and APC is the one bringing all of this problem. So what do you tell them when they ask you questions like that, you know,
he was the one that brought, you know, this person on
this
board.
government was the one that orchestrated the existence of this party?
The bringing in of the current government is not his making alone. It was a decision that the party made. Yes, he spearheaded it. Yes, he came out and said, yes, I'm the one standing for him. He will do the job. I will not say the government of today didn't try. I will not say that, sir. If you look at what is going on now, changes are already coming. All the promises the president made is finally coming to fruition now.
As he's about to wrap up,
banditry has gone down a little.
Yes.
As he's about to wrap up his tenure.
It's coming to play.
As they say, all is well that ends well.
All is well. I don't know about that, but it's fine. But things are getting better, and it will even get better as the new government comes in. You don't know what you can do until you get challenged, until you see the problem. And Asiwaju Bola Tinubu has sat back for years to see what the problem is. He has a lot of issue-based problems lined up already. He has people he's going to put in place. And even when he was governor, if you notice the way he does his thing, he works with youth, he works with women, and he brings in different ethnic groups to manage Lagos State, for that matter. So that kind of person that has grown, he has the experience, and he has achieved so much in regards to making Lagos State successful. He has, I don't know how to explain myself. We have the likes of the Vice President, Dele Alake, and so many professionals that he has groomed. We are going to do the same on federal level.
All right. All right. There's so much to say, but we have to leave the conversation here now.
Okay.
Because of time, we must thank you, Deputy National Coordinator South for Tinubu Support Organization, Ayodele Fatusin. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello there. Thanks for joining us on TVC Breakfast. Now let's get to the next discussion. Nigeria is commemorating 62 years of independence from her colonial masters. But some Nigerians say that 62 years after, nothing seems. Is lawyer and public affairs analyst Adedotun Ajulo. It's nice to have you join us this morning. Good morning. Welcome. Now, I believe you listened to the broadcast by the president and looking at also the realities on ground and all of that. A lot of Nigerians seem to be on all sides. Some say, well, the president has done really well. Others have said, well, we expect more. But we still have some who are sitting on the fence. Well, whatever you guys do, we don't care. What do you make of all of this mix where we can't agree, even though we face the same thing?
Well, the situation of the country, as well as in trying to looking at the situation of the country with the special speech on the 1st of October, I will tell you my perception about the speech. It is more of a parting speech of the president than issues.
Of course, that was his last speech. As
the country or the president has done so badly. One wouldn't even expect that we can get to this point or this level. And we must say kudos to the president to a very large extent. So I agree with the president on the areas he touched in the speech. And there's nothing other than the truth in what the president said. In as much as we are challenged as a country, we must acknowledge the fact that we are not at war as majority of some people make us to feel. Our challenges hasn't brought us to a state of despair. I can tell you, we're in this country, like the president rightly mentioned, the passage of the Petroleum Industrial Act is one of such that one should commend, and the impact as far as our economy is concerned. Though we might think we are not feeling it now, but I can tell you that in some few years' time, Nigeria will begin to feel that. Looking at the electoral reform, the passage of Electoral Act of 2022, bearing in mind, we've had certain elections, that of Ekiti and Osun. I was personally involved in this election as an observer and the rest of it. You must give kudos to the president. We are far away from where we were in 2015, where we were in 2011. So when we want to look at issues as well, it was under the same dispensation that we had a not too young to run bill being passed into law and all of that. So in as much as we are not there, we must not lose sight of the fact of the progress we've made as a nation.
Well, people have had a lot of complaint over Buhari's term in office. One of the indications is the value of the currency. Currency, when it was in office, was before it came in, was something around is it 300 or something like that? Now it's more than doubled. The cost of things have gone very high. There's a lot of disenchantment among young people who have now joined what they call the Japa syndrome. How would you put that side by side? The fact that banditry was very, very high when it took office, became worse with herdsmen crisis and all of that. We don't hear much about herdsmen crisis now. The bandits are actually on the run from indications, we've seen of late. And we have seen the infrastructure work being done. Last week we had Tunde Raji Fashola, Commissioner of Works, here showcasing some of the work he has done, especially the second Niger bridge that we are seeing. We have seen uptick in power. Now, how do you now really bring these two together? That people are hungry, they cannot get more jobs. ASU is on strike, they can't resolve it. Then you have this.
Well, I would say there is nothing you want to discuss about the current economy, our security challenges, even ASU, like you mentioned, that you can detach to preceding governments. When you are even talking about when you are talking about the difference in naira, the outflow of our naira to dollar.
Now you had a point on when Sam asked you regarding progress on one hand and then complaints on the other hand. How we reconcile all of these?
Very well. The challenges comes in different shades. As at the time the current government in power took over, I was analyzing with somebody yesterday, and we're looking at the security issues we have then. When you look at the modus operandi, how they operated, and what we have currently, you can see that it's coming in different shades. You must come to the point whereby you appreciate this current government as well. Then, what we used to have is Boko Haram. On Sundays, people can't go to churches. People cannot gather for Christmas and all of that. That was what we were having typical of Boko Haram. And you agree with me, like, let's say in 2-3 years into the government, their first time, that was all off from the country. But suddenly, we have the issue of banditry. So the challenges, either you like it or not, the effort of the government in curbing this, as a way it manifests differently. We would have expected that in the southeast, when we're having this challenge in the northeast, then Boko Haram, bombing, and all of that, we would have expected that in the southeast, someday will come in the southeast that police will be subject of attack, that you won't have people to go out on a certain day and come out on a certain day. So we must commend the government for doing its own bit. The thing about the country, the thing about our challenges is it has its own shades in which it comes back to us. Looking at the lingering ASU issue, before now, we've had strikes. I was going through again to do my own research, and I realized that between 1999 and date, we've had 15 or 16 times in which these people embark on them. And when you look at the things they put forward, they are things that happened previously. When you look at talking about the agreement being signed, it was in 2009. When you are looking at the issue of UTAS, University Transparency Accountability Solution, it is never the making of this current government. Even
but
though
it's not your duty to complain about what the other people did. It's your duty to fix it.
Yes.
That no matter what the problem is with ASU, it is also the problem of the government. If a child is recalcitrant, nobody will say the child is recalcitrant and you blame the child alone. You say, who is the parent? Who is the father? So that is where we are now. That if ASU is not able to solve it, the government should find a way to get it behind us. That is the use of imagination. You also have coercive powers, not that you use them undemocratically, but you use them within the ambit of the law to make these things happen. and also imagination, persuasion. They are all powers that are in the arsenal of government to use. But we are, as it were, in a rut. Although I believe in my own way that ASU itself has overblown this because if they feel that they cannot reach an agreement with the federal government, they should go back to school because this government has just a few months. They should go back to school and wait till the next government. But nobody is winning. The real losers the real loser is the Nigerian education at the tertiary level. The real loser is the student. The real loser is even the lecturer, unless they want to live a life of indolence. But in the final analysis, it is the government who can even make this happen, that let these students go back to school.
Well, without holding brief for the government, we should not as well close our eyes to the efforts by the current government. That was the point I was trying to arrive at. In as much as most of these issues that ASU was bringing or were bringing on table, they were issues that started with the government. The current government has made its own effort. It has released funds, though they are talking about 1.3 trillion. What I'm saying is this: this was not fund agreed to by the current government. But even at that, payment have been made to ASU. What we would have done, if they didn't get it off with the preceding government, what we would have done was what we have rightly suggested. They will have gone back to school. Either you like it or not, there are appreciable steps taken by this current government. There are appreciable steps taken by this government, not minding where this whole thing started from. So on the issue of ASU, I think, like you suggested, like you said, negotiation should continue. Either you like it or not, the government is coming to an end. And are we going to wait that, okay, even when the new government comes into power, you want to wait until all of that before resumption? That's on the side of ASU. Talking about the dollar rate and exchange rate, and the inflation and the rest of it, there was a time in this country, except we want to hide behind our finger and be very, very untrue to ourselves. We knew, the economists knew this day is going to come. We had this analysis that in another 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, we are going to have these problems. And if we must face the reality, we knew it's going to happen. There's no way to go about it. We were in this country at a point in time when the CBN governor came up by saying money is missing, talking about mentioning figures, and where do you think all of that will go to? In as much as a government should be responsible enough or be responsive enough to have taken these issues head on, well, we knew it's going to come. And coupled with the fact that the global pandemic and all of that happened in 2020, there's no way you take away all of this from our challenges.
All right. Now, if putting it that way makes it look like it was destiny. The issue of the inflation rate was destiny, and Nigeria had nothing. Nothing was going to be done about it. Recall the former CBN governor you mentioned. As much as monies were mentioned to have been missing at that time, there were the issue of if something is not done, this could happen. Economists will come and say, if nothing is done, this could be this way and this could be this way.
Ceteris paribus.
Exactly. Where all things being equal in economics. Unfortunately, nothing is always equal. But the reality is that if nothing is being done, it is always a finger pointed at government because they have the authority, they have the capacity, they have the resources, they have the wherewithal to ensure that every other resource or stakeholder aligns towards ensuring that there's a solution in that regard. So if we still have the same issues this way, then it means government must have failed in that regard.
Yeah, let's pray that we have a day whereby we have government in place who can be very spontaneous and very responsive enough to address issues, no matter how it comes.
So you are agreeing that this government didn't fall in that category?
Well, we must. My sympathy to the current government, like I mentioned earlier on, is that a lot of things came in between. A lot of things came in between.
That made them helpless.
This is a government that did all it can to decimate whatever you have in form of insecurity, particularly in the north. And suddenly, we have banditry. Banditry crossover from the north, kidnapping and all of that. Yes, even when we had kidnapping before, way back from 1999, when we started this democracy, we have issue of kidnapping, maybe particularly in the south region and all of that. The prominence, the escalation of kidnapping in Nigeria is unprecedented under this government. We have the issue of banditry. So these are a government that have used a lot of resources in trying to, then what we used to see as an issue in the country was nothing but Boko Haram. But look at the shade in which he come into the government.
Dr. Let me draw your attention a little bit. Recall in the 80s, in fact, when the current president was, I think, chief of army staff or so, he was the one under former president Shehu Shagari who chased Meitasini, the terrorist group at that time, a small network, chased them out of Nigeria into Chad Republic. If you compare the capacity of Nigeria in the 80s and now, one would say Nigeria is better off now in the capacity, the military, all of that, than that time. If they were able to handle all of those things headlong that time, how much more now? Moreover, we're talking about a president who is a retired general who has access to military intelligence, who has access to all sort of capacity. So it looks like saying that, well, it was not his fault for anything to happen. Taking it away from him that the buck always stops on the table of the commander-in-chief.
Well, if we are looking, you just mentioned 1984 and the rest of it. I will still come by saying the evolution of technology, the world we have currently, is different from what we have in 1984.
So are we better off or we're worse off?
Well, in terms of technology, we are better off. But the human thing, the human searchable quest for whatever it is, maybe power and the rest of it, has made the negative impact of whatever development we find in terms of technology has made it very, very, very difficult. And in 1984, what we have, the way a manner crime are being organized or being carried out in recent time, you can't compare with what we have in 1984. Well, in all of this, I'm not trying to absorb the government of any responsibility. What I'm trying to put across to the public there is that in as much as we have challenges, persons are making it look as if we're at war. You see people on the pulpit telling you Nigeria is at war and the rest of it. And I'm only trying to see it from the angle that there are appreciable progress we have made.
Why is it that people are not even seeing that there is really a downtick in violence in the past 2 months? A lot of people are not ready to accept it. Why is it? Because what we have seen is that, for instance, in Zamfara, Turji Bello, the kingpin there, is on the run. He was chased. In Kaduna, where we were getting news of bandits on a daily basis, sometimes twice a day. I don't remember the last time we heard anything about Katsina or Kaduna. There was one in Plateau about a week ago, but that looks like it just came and went. And so why is it that people are not ready to even admit that something has happened?
Well, what you can't take away is this. We are in the political era. Election is at the corner. The unfortunate thing about Africa is this. We are more loyal to our political interests than the interests of the nation. It happened particularly in West Africa. Like you mentioned, there's a downtick. It is a political era. As far as people on the other side are concerned, they feel getting to power, you must always make the current party in power to look bad. So the progress being made is widely underreported. Like you rightly mentioned, I was in Abuja last week, and I was waiting for a colleague who said he was in Kaduna. And I'm like, how do you do it? Do you have escorts following you there from Kaduna? He said, no. That for the past 2-3 weeks, we have been traveling through that same road that we used to dread at the point in time. That the road is as free, it's as safe as anything. So all of this will be blamed. This is a political error. People will want to, that's my area that I'm coming from. That yes, we know we are challenged. People feel it is only by making it look that
bigger than it is. But some people are also saying that why is it not cynical that it's towards the end of his reign that he's doing it? I mean, there has been there's this quote from Machiavelli's book, what do they call it, The Prince, when he said that when the sickness, he's talking about fevers, he said when the sickness is, when it begins, it is easier to cure than to diagnose. But when it has become serious, it is easier to diagnose than to cure. So the point is that we didn't detect it early enough, because when the thing is small, you can easily, if you detect it, you can destroy it and kill it. But now we are trying to do like what David lamented in the Bible when Saul died, when he said the beauty of Israel is slain upon the high places, had the mighty fallen and so on. He went on and on one line he said from the blood of the slain and the fat of the mighty, the sword of Jonathan did not hold back, neither the sword of Saul. So that's what they are now. They are trying to do like martial with their swords, killing them. And people are saying, why now? Why did he do it before?
Well, I've said that earlier on as well. You see, this thing comes in different shades, and that's what our people don't realize. We're talking about 1984, and we are talking about 2022. As you are trying to, it takes a whole lot of time to study, to strategize. I'm not a military person, but we know that in our day in, day out plan and event that happen around us, when you are confronted with an issue, it takes some time before you get at it. What you see materializing today, some are saying it's towards the end of his government. What's cynical about it, about the end of the government? Nothing cynical about it. You don't know when this strategy has been in place that you see materializing today. But at the end of it all, what we are saying is there is effort. Thank God you observed and you noted it. There is effort, even the security challenges, as we are bringing it in, coming in different shades, there is this serious effort on the part of the government.
Same thing with power.
But
people started emphasizing that
on that power,
there have been more shutdown of the grid. That's what people are talking more than the lights and the van.
Do you know I even have a confusion. Most of the time when I read from the news that is shut down in the grid and the rest of it, I realize there is power in my place. They will tell you there is a national shutdown. And this makes news. Like my current location where I reside, I have been there since 2014. When I came in 2014, it's like having power like 2 times in a week. And when that one comes, the power, the voltage, you can't even use your pressing iron to have anything done. But I can tell you today, sir, if you as my guest, if there's power outage, I will tell you, okay, they will bring the light in another 5 minutes. They will bring the light in another. And I think the federal government itself, I don't know, they did a lot of disservice to themselves, particularly in the areas of information. Messaging, like the issue of communication, like the issue of the issue of ASU. Go and ask most of these students carrying placard, say we want to go back to school. What are the issues between federal government?
They don't know.
Federal government and the ASU, they don't know.
They just want to go back to school.
I can tell you 70% of them don't know the progress that has been made under this government towards whatever ASU is demanding for. They don't know. The thing is not outside there. So the communication, the information is not there. The messaging, like you said, is not there. I'm saying this. I'm a young person. I'm saying this. I'm far off better individually and everyone I can see around me. Let me tell you, sir, I've had the cost to travel on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway from Ife to Lagos between the hour of 11 and 12 earlier this year.
In the night?
But so in the night, because I was compelled to do so. There's some persons who make it look to you that come, you can't walk, you can't. In fact, let me tell you, sir, I had a deflated tire entering into Ibadan. It was policemen on patrol because the car was a new car. So I didn't know the spanner wouldn't be able to loosen. It was the policemen on patrol that were busy stopping vehicles to help me get the four-wing, to loose, and I proceeded with my journey. So I think they've not done, in terms of messaging,
yeah, but as much as that happens,
Yes.
it doesn't also take away from the fact that there are some days where there are attacks on such roads, whether you're going to Benin or you're going to Ore, or you're going to Akure, or you're going to Ibadan, as the case may be. We also have those cases. Now, the issue there is that the primary, in fact, thank God you're a lawyer, the primary rule of government, like we have all known, I am not a lawyer, but we have been enlightened by learned people like you who said that the primary rule of government is welfare and security of citizens. So it is not the issue of, I passed there on this day, nothing happened. My sister passed there 2 days ago, nothing happened. But it's possible somebody also took there last week and something happened. So the issue there, it is the issue of building on a formidable security situation in such a way that it doesn't happen. And even when it happens, the issue is taken care of and nipped at the bud, where it doesn't happen again. That's what we're talking about.
You see, we must be patriotic enough to balance whatever we want to do. The fact that I passed through that road and I was never a victim doesn't mean that I don't have friends. I don't have families who have suffered one form of attack or the other. What I'm just saying is this. It is very, very easy. As at yesterday, I still have somebody, a notable figure, saying we're at war. No, sir. You should understand my areas of divergence in whatever we are discussing here. Yes, we know there is a problem. Like I've said, maybe you didn't take that into observation. When this government came into power, what we were dealing with was simply Boko Haram, where people cannot go to church to worship on Sunday.
Even up to, it's extended up to Kano, to Abuja.
And the rest, you can't go.
Blow up the United Nations
I was
building.
in Jos when this whole thing started. Look at Abuja. Abuja was clearly infiltrated and all of that. Suddenly, we didn't hear about this again. It's as if this sort of people just regroup and said, okay, let us go back into the forest. And we can be talking about banditry. What we are saying is this. We should be patriotic as Nigeria. We should be patriotic enough to balance whatever it is. Like recently, looking at the election that is the upcoming election, a certain loyalist of a political party, they found the only place they found worthy to go and have a convergence was Lekki Tollgate. Thank God for how we're able to use the instrumentality of law to avert that from happening. And when you say this, they will say it's because nobody, they knew that nobody can stop a rally from happening. But why Lekki Tollgate? Do you know what that will have stayed by it all? What I'm saying is this, we must be patriotic enough to balance whatever we will have. The government is not, we are not there yet at all. We are even far away from being there. But it is important to note the efforts, the progress we've made thus far as a government.
All right. Unfortunately, we don't have all the time anymore, but we thank you so much, Dr. Ajulo, for coming on the program. Talking about patriotism, Nigerians we look forward to more patriotism, and we also look forward to more inspiration from government, because government is seen as the God on earth, before God in heaven and then God on earth.
In the era of the divine rights of kings.
Fine. So the point there is Nigerians still look forward to that inspiration to be able to. They will take it up from there.
We'll get there.
All right. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right.